Hello everyone, and welcome to my Sister Wives For You channel. I hope everyone is having a wonderful day. Before we begin, please hit the subscribe button and give this video a thumbs up. While leaking information about Kody Brown, a Sister Wives' son has spoken out about Garrison Brown's burial. His distance from many of his children is well known, but what is his son saying, and which of them has spoken up? For further information, continue reading. Brown's son discloses information regarding Garrison's funeral. For the entire family, Garrison Brown's death was a tragic event. At the end of season 19, Sister Wives finally acknowledged the time he committed suicide. After more than a year of waiting for the information, fans believed he had been forgotten. Many of his supposed scenes had been veiled by contrived drama, and no one spoke of him. During the funeral, Michael T. Brown Padron, Garrison's sister, made references to issues with their father, Kody Brown, and his wife, Robin. But what actually happened? Padron Brown is a highly talkative son of Christine Brown Woolley, Kody's third wife. He has always been straightforward and honest. He was responding to inquiries from fans about his father and their relationship in a recent video. Padron questioned whether his fans would despise him if he and Kody got along. He did, however, add that they hadn't spoken at Garrison's burial in a very long time. This is more than a year ago. Garrison passed away in March 2024. Lastly, he said that since it did not go as planned, he would not go into great detail about that. As a result, the Sister Wives' son is refusing to comment on specifics. Fans were surprised when they viewed footage of Garrison's funeral, and Padron appeared to pour beer down the grave. Padron did admit that it did not go as horribly as it might have, sharing that it went the way it went. All the children, however, rejoiced and grieved in their own unique ways. Whether Padron's problems with his father will come up in season 20 is unknown. Nobody is startled. In regards to Kody Brown's relationship with his children, Sister Wives fans anticipated this. This is consistent with Christine Brown Woolley's earlier statement that he was not contacting her. Many people at the time questioned what went wrong during Garrison's funeral and caused such a rift. Nevertheless, Kody's actions and his disrespect for his children sicken them. Many of the older children have indicated something, therefore I'm really interested in learning what transpired at Garrison's burial.
Whoa.
I find it incomprehensible that a dad would lose a child and then not make an effort to mend the relationship with his other children. Simply amazing. F***CK Robin and Kody as disrespectfully as you can. Kody in particular. One further stated that Kody had to be left behind because the children were too good. All they had to do was stay focused. They were headed in the right direction. Did you anticipate that Padron and Kody would reconcile during the burial, or are you surprised that they are no longer together? Watch Sister Wives when it returns to TLC at the end of September, and share your comments with us. The world of Sister Wives has never been short on drama, heartbreak, and family conflict, but the news surrounding the funeral of Robert Garrison Brown, the beloved son of Janelle and Kody Brown, has struck fans in a way no scripted storyline ever could, and now one of Garrison's brothers has decided to finally break his silence, opening up about the funeral, about Kody's complicated role in it all, and about how the Brown family will never be the same again, and as he shares his deeply personal reflections, fans are left both heartbroken and furious, wondering how a family that was once united by faith and unconventional love could end up so fractured in their darkest hour, because when tragedy struck in March 2024 with Garrison's sudden death at just 25 years old, viewers who had followed him since he was a sweet, mischievous teen on TLC could hardly believe that his light had been extinguished, and in the aftermath, whispers circulated about Kody's strained relationship with his children, whispers that became louder when speculation arose that his attendance, or lack thereof, at Garrison's funeral said more about the state of his family than any televised argument ever could, and now that one of Garrison's brothers has broken his silence, those whispers have turned into a storm, because what he revealed is a mixture of sorrow, anger, and raw honesty. The kind of honesty fans always suspected but rarely heard from inside the Brown family itself, and in describing the funeral, he spoke not just of mourning but of division, saying that while family members came together to grieve, there was a clear absence of unity, with old wounds and unresolved conflicts casting long shadows over the gathering, and he admitted that seeing their father, Kody, in such a setting was surreal, because for years the relationship between him, Garrison, and many of the Brown children had deteriorated to the point of near estrangement, and yet here they all were, forced by tragedy into the same room, trying to find meaning in loss while carrying the baggage of resentment, betrayal, and neglect, and he didn't sugarcoat how complicated it felt to honor his brother while still struggling with feelings of anger toward their father, admitting that grief is never simple. But in this case, it was layered with years of pain that were impossible to ignore, and in describing Kody's presence, he painted a picture of a man both broken and defensive, someone who wanted to grieve his son but also couldn't avoid the reality that many of his children felt he had abandoned them long before Garrison's death, and while the cameras of TLC weren't there to capture this moment, fans could practically see it through the words of the Brown son who shared his story, because the dysfunction that played out in public for years was now bleeding into the most private, sacred setting of all, a funeral, and the silence that followed Garrison's passing only fueled speculation, with many fans demanding answers about whether Kody even attended, whether he said anything meaningful, and whether the fractured family could ever heal, and this brother's testimony has now provided clarity. Though the truth is not comforting but instead tragic in its own right, because yes, Kody was there, but his presence was strained, his words hollow to some, and the air between him and his children heavy with unresolved tension, and the Brown son admitted that while funerals are meant to be times of unity, for them it was a reminder of how far apart they had drifted, and he confessed that Garrison himself had felt alienated in the years leading up to his death, particularly during the pandemic when Kody's strict rules and alleged favoritism toward Robyn's household deepened divides within the family, leaving Garrison feeling like an outsider in his own father's world, and it was that alienation that made this loss all the more heartbreaking, because Garrison's struggle for belonging and recognition was something that weighed heavily on him, and now, in hindsight, it's impossible not to link his pain to the family fractures that were laid bare in the aftermath. And the Brown son who spoke out admitted that one of the hardest parts of the funeral was seeing people pretend, putting on faces of unity for appearances when underneath there was so much resentment, and he emphasized that Garrison deserved better. He deserved a family that could set aside differences, that could come together without bitterness, and that could honor his life with authenticity, and yet the reality was a funeral that symbolized everything broken within the Brown family. A final chapter written not just in grief but in division, and as he spoke, he revealed that his own relationship with Kody remains strained, that he struggles to forgive, and that while he doesn't know if healing is possible, he knows that Garrison's memory demands more than silence, and that's why he chose to speak out now, to give fans a glimpse of the truth, even if it's messy, uncomfortable, and painful, because silence would only allow misconceptions to grow. And fans who have followed the Browns for over a decade know that this family has never been good at silence, confessionals, tell-alls, and social media posts have always exposed cracks in the foundation, and this moment is no different. Only this time the stakes are real, the pain irreversible, and the cost of brokenness measured in the life of a young man gone too soon, and as his words circulate, fans are reacting with an outpouring of empathy for the Brown children, especially those like Garrison who felt overlooked, while Kody faces renewed criticism for his choices, with many declaring that his legacy is no longer about plural marriage or family building but about alienation, favoritism, and loss, and while some defend him, arguing that grief is complicated and that no father deserves to be judged at such a vulnerable time, others insist that accountability cannot be avoided, not when the consequences of neglect are written in such tragic terms, and as the conversation unfolds, the Brown son's decision to break his silence may become a turning point, forcing both the family and fans to confront uncomfortable truths, and perhaps even pushing Kody himself to reflect more deeply than ever before, though whether reflection will lead to change is a question no one can answer, because history suggests that Kody struggles with accountability, often blaming others or circumstances for the fractures in his family, but with Garrison's death and the raw grief of his siblings laid bare, perhaps this tragedy could spark the kind of reckoning that years of arguments and separations never did, though as of now, the Wounds are still fresh, the grief still raw, and the divisions still painfully real, leaving fans and family alike to wonder what comes next, whether healing is possible, and how Garrison will be remembered, not just as a casualty of family drama, but as a son, a brother, and a young man who deserved more love, more unity, and more peace than he received in life or death. And in the end, the Brown son's words serve as both a tribute and a warning, a reminder that silence only deepens pain, and that the true measure of a family is not how they appear on television, but how they show up in moments of unimaginable loss. As more details trickled out following the heartbreaking funeral of Robert Garrison Brown, the weight of the silence from much of the Brown family became even more noticeable. But when one of his brothers chose to open up, to peel back the curtain and reveal not only the sorrow, but also the bitterness that clouded the day, it became clear that this tragedy was not just about the death of a beloved son, but about the unraveling of a family once held up as a symbol of unity through difference. And the brother who spoke out made it abundantly clear that while funerals are supposed to unite, Garrison's farewell underscored the fractures that TLC viewers have witnessed over the years, but never in such a raw, unfiltered way, because he described the moment he looked around the funeral home and realized that the Brown family, now splintered into factions, could barely occupy the same space without tension simmering beneath the surface. And though there were hugs, there were also glares, and though there were tears, there were also awkward silences where words should have been, and at the center of it all was Kody, the patriarch whose presence was both expected and resented, because while he was there in body, the emotional connection many of his children longed for had been severed years before, and the brother admitted that he could hardly look at his father without feeling a wave of conflicting emotions: anger for the years of distance, sadness for the moments Garrison never got, and pity for a man who seemed to have lost the respect of nearly everyone who should have been his closest allies. And as he continued to share, he painted a picture of Kody not as the confident, charismatic leader fans saw in the early years of Sister Wives, but as a hollowed figure, trying to grieve a son while carrying the invisible burden of knowing that many blame him, at least in part, for the pain that led to this moment. And it wasn't just speculation, but a sentiment whispered within the family itself, because the rift between Kody and his older children had grown so wide that reconciliation seemed nearly impossible even before tragedy struck. And now that Garrison was gone, it felt like the bridge had burned completely, because how can you rebuild trust with someone who is no longer there to receive it? And the brother explained that what hurt most was knowing Garrison died still feeling disconnected from his father, still feeling like he was pushed aside in favor of Robin's household, still battling the weight of rejection, and that was something that no amount of flowers, speeches, or tears could erase, because funerals are final, and apologies after death come too late. And when asked about what Kody said during the service, the brother revealed that while Kody did speak, his words rang hollow to many, because they were framed in broad platitudes about faith, family, and love, but never addressed the elephant in the room, that his relationship with Garrison had been broken, that he had failed to bridge the gap, and that his children felt abandoned in the years leading up to this moment. And hearing those words only fueled the frustration of siblings who wanted more than scripted phrases, who wanted accountability, vulnerability, and acknowledgement of the reality they had lived, not the version Kody often presented for cameras or outsiders. And in sharing this, the brother did not hide his own tears, admitting that the hardest part was realizing that the image of the Brown family many fans still held onto was long gone, replaced by a reality where grief was laced with anger, where family unity was an illusion, and where the bonds between siblings were strong precisely because they had learned to survive without their father's guidance. And though he acknowledged that some moments at the funeral were beautiful, stories about Garrison's humor, his love for animals, his adventurous spirit, those moments were overshadowed by the weight of unresolved conflict, and he emphasized that Garrison deserved more, deserved a send-off unmarred by bitterness, deserved a father who had shown up for him in life with the same conviction he tried to project in death. And as these words spread, fans of Sister Wives were shaken, because while they had long speculated about the broken relationships within the Brown family, hearing it confirmed in such a personal and heartbreaking way underscored just how deep the wounds really are. And The brothers' candor has sparked a larger conversation about what family truly means, about how neglect and favoritism can fracture even the strongest bonds, and about how loss can either heal or permanently scar. And in the case of the Browns, it seems the latter may be true, because even as some siblings tried to lean on each other, the presence of Kody acted as a reminder of the years of division, and many found themselves unable to grieve fully while anger still bubbled beneath the surface. And the brother explained that for him, the days since the funeral have been a roller coaster of emotions: grief for his brother, frustration toward his father, and a growing determination to speak out, because keeping silent, he felt, would dishonor Garrison's memory. And he admitted that though speaking publicly risks criticism, it also provides healing, because telling the truth, no matter how messy, is better than allowing a false narrative to stand. And he wanted fans to know that Garrison was more than just a casualty of family drama, that he was a man with dreams, struggles, and a deep need for love that often went unmet. And in telling this truth, he hoped that Garrison's story might inspire other families to confront their own divisions before it's too late, because if there's any lesson to be learned, it's that reconciliation delayed can easily become reconciliation denied, and once that moment passes, it can never be regained. And in reflecting on this, he admitted that he doesn't know whether his own relationship with Kody can ever be repaired, but he does know that he will fight to keep Garrison's memory alive, to ensure that his brother is remembered not for the pain that surrounded his final years, but for the joy, humor, and kindness he brought into the world. And as fans listen to these words, they are left with a bittersweet picture of a family both mourning and divided, of siblings carrying each other through loss, and of a father whose presence brings as much tension as comfort. And the question remains, will this tragedy finally push the Browns to face their fractures, or will it solidify them forever? With Garrison's funeral remembered not only as a farewell to a beloved son but also as the day the Brown family could no longer even pretend to be whole.